him and Doug Deacon, watched their final Browns game together on October 6th. That was a losing effort, of course. But they watched their final game together and stuff like that. And just, a bunch of tributes, pouring in. Like last night, I was watching the game, the Sunday night football game, and it was another tribute to him and stuff like that. So it's a national story, and the Browns meant a lot, to him, and he meant a lot to the Browns because he was their broadcaster for what, 25 years?
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the Browns do. So Casey Coleman was a legend in this town when it comes to broadcasting in the Browns. And if you go to Berea to training camp, there is the Casey Coleman Fieldhouse. I wonder if they will do something for Jim Donovan. I feel like he had the worst years, right? He's been covering the Browns since '99. He's been through some rough times, and he managed to survive 1-31, just like we did, with dignity and grace. And he suffered through every minute of those 32 games. I will say there are times where I had to shut the TV off because I couldn't do it. And he got through every minute, every play, every awful performance, and a lot of good times as well. There have been good times in the last 25 years. So for me, he will always be the voice of the Browns, the same way that Tom Hamilton is the voice of the Indians, the same way that, and the Guardians now, the same way that Joe Tate, for me, is the voice of the Cavaliers. When I hear anyone else on a Browns broadcast or a Cavs broadcast, I think of Joe Tate, and now I will think of Jim Donovan, and I will miss him because that's the voice I want to say grew up with. I'm 58. I didn't grow up with them, but that's just most of my years listening to Cleveland sports. Those are two of the voices. They're very, them as soon as you hear them, right? And Tom Hamilton with the Tribe is the same way. As soon as I turn the radio on, I know if it's a local broadcaster, if it's national, because I recognize his voice. And Jim Donovan was just a class act and just a great person. So he will be missed. I thought it was classy of the Browns, of Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, to go to his house and give a game ball to his family. Yeah, one of my daughters was surprised that they had the tributes and stuff ready to go. And I said, at the beginning of the season, when he knew he wasn't going to be able to continue, I'm pretty sure they started putting packages together then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because for him to bow out of the season, you knew he didn't have a lot of time left. He was going to be doing what he does right up until the end. So, yeah.
Yeah, because Andrew's
it's been a rough couple weeks at the stadium, let me tell you. With the emotions last week, right? Last week you got Nick Chubb coming back, and then you got Deshaun getting hurt, and then this week you've got no Jim Donovan, and then you've got JOK getting hurt. It's just been, and then that win at the end, it's just been a roller coaster of emotions for the last two home games. So I'd like some calm.
And Jim survived. Well, he didn't survive, but he sat through only 3 playoff appearances and 1 win.
Yep.
So that was another thing that, he had to sit through as well. So you think about that, 25 years, it's just kind of crazy, but it is what it is. And, our condolences are, to his family. So just want to put that out there. But yeah, Kate, there's been a lot of, emotion that's been taking place, at the, down there on the lake. It's been a lot, like you said, Nick Chubb coming back, a lot of emotion with that. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get that emotion to transfer into a win. And then you had Deshaun, go down. So there's a lot of emotion, with that happened, unfortunately, a lot of mixed things, coming out of that, people cheering and stuff like that, which is, I don't care how much, you detest somebody, you never cheer injury or death or anything like that, because, definitely karma is something. So you don't do that. And then this week with the tribute to Jim Donovan, it's kind of remind me, of Bo Schembechler passing away before Michigan, Ohio State in 2006, with that game, everything on the line. There wasn't everything on the line for everything wasn't on the line for the Browns, but, jobs are on the line. Kevin stepped down from, calling plays, which was something huge. So you could feel that, the winds were shifting and people's jobs are on the line. So you could tell that there was something going on in Berea, and it was really, really bad. You had a team that's 1-6, not winning anything, not really being competitive in games, and you still have, an embattled quarterback. So, but he went down. So there was still a lot, taking place this week um going into this game, and you got a red hot Baltimore Ravens squad coming in, your division rival, who constantly gets the best of you, and you were predicted to not win this game as well. They've been dominant against you at home and away. So, there wasn't really many expectations to win this game. But when Jim Donovan, passed away, you knew that maybe something special might, happen. And, I don't know, how much I guess I do believe in divine intervention and stuff like that. I guess I believe in that stuff. But, like Kevin Stefanski said in the post game, they wanted to win this one for Jim Donovan. And, it was a lot of things that took place that, had to align for it to happen, in that game once it started. But they were able to win the game. So, Kate, what are your assessments of the game?
Oh, you don't want to get me started on the game itself.
Yeah, I do.
I live a faith-filled life. I believe in God, in Jesus, in a higher power. I am focusing every day on how God has made certain things very clear in my life.
Mhm.
But I'm not someone who believes that Jim Donovan from beyond the grave in football heaven had any effect on this game, other than there were probably some players who've been around here a while who knew him, definitely people on the staff who felt maybe a little extra motivation this week. I've seen a lot of comments on Twitter. I've seen a lot of people who are like, well, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but maybe the offensive line wasn't blocking for Deshaun because they don't like him. Stop. The difference between this week and the last 7 is not just who was under center. We had Wyatt Teller and what's his name back on the line. We have Nick Chubb back for his second week. We had Ken Dorsey calling plays. I can make a bigger argument that Ken Dorsey calling plays has more to do with this team winning yesterday than who was under center. Jameis got very lucky quite a few times that Ravens defense isn't what it once was, and especially not in the passing game. He got some very good blocking, and he threw for over 300 yards, and this team put up over 20 points for the first time all season, and they still tried to give it away and managed to win it. The defense, at halftime, what I tweeted was, this is the team I was promised at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to beat nobody 54-0, but you're going to be in games until the last minute. And this was the first week I felt like I was seeing the team that I predicted to win the AFC North from the beginning of the season. I hope if Kevin Stefanski learns nothing else from this week, it's that it was the right call for Ken Dorsey to be the play caller. Maybe Kevin was able to focus on some other facets of the game. I wish we had seen some DTR packages. But in general, much improved. Still some penalties that were, pre-snap penalties, but not what it was. Not the sacks we were giving up. We didn't give up the big, huge plays like we've been doing. We tried, but we didn't. So in general, that's my thoughts on this week's game.
Yeah, because games like this usually don't go the Browns' way.
They don't. I'm still trying to figure out how Justin Tucker missed a 50-yard field goal. In
Yeah.
what universe? Like it's here comes Justin Tucker. It's a field goal. I'm like, all right, go to the bathroom, go to the kitchen, get a drink, add 3 points to the board. He
Yeah.
don't even have to kick it. Just give him three. Wait,
Yeah.
what?
And the would be
He
interception
missed?
at the very end on the last drive.
That I don't know. I don't know if that guy like had money riding in Vegas and needed to drop that interception. Because I still don't understand. I'm sure he don't understand. They'll be watching film in Baltimore. Can't nobody understand how he didn't come up with that ball. Thank you, Jesus. He didn't come up with that ball.
Yeah, that usually that is something that does not go the Browns' way, and it
Right.
went the Browns' way.
It went our way
And
this week.
my one thing about Jameis is he's a turnover machine. Throws a lot of
Yes.
interceptions. So he even admitted himself, that there was, some plays that he would love to have back, and he got very lucky on. And it was the Baltimore not making plays when they needed to was one of the things that
Yep.
helped us. And at the end when it counts, and like you said, this wasn't the Baltimore Ravens defense of old, because you could pass against this team, and the Browns were able to move the ball down the field. He threw for over 300 yards, something that hasn't happened all season for
Right.
Deshaun Watson. And it's just it was just night and day between the play calling of Kevin Stefanski and
Yep.
Ken Dorsey, and it makes you go back to wondering, what if Alex Van Pelt got to call plays? You notice he got to call plays, when he had COVID during the playoff game, and we were able to win that game successfully. So, what is about, Kevin Stefanski's scheme when it comes to play calling that's just so, we've always talked about his play calling and situational play calling and stuff like that, and, why he isn't able to accomplish things that other people are. And this doesn't look good for him. I think it's another indictment upon him as well. Like, he should have gave a play calling a long time ago, because remember when he was named head coach, I said I hate, especially new coaches calling plays and stuff like that. I've
Yep.
never been for coaches, calling plays. What you got an offensive coordinator? If I was an offensive coordinator, I'd be happy because you paying me to do nothing. I'm soaking it,
Yeah.
at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
So, yeah. I mean, when you look at the stats for the game, you can see why the score was as close as it was. Both teams had 22 first downs. Both teams had 7 penalties. The Browns had 1 turnover. Ravens didn't have any. That's a little rough. One of the things that I think we really need to look at, I mean, they only had 80 rushing yards, but we had 321 in the air. Listen, if it's working, it's working. You didn't need to run the ball to open up the passing game because you were playing against the secondary that isn't great. My concern is the return yards. Did you watch any of that Lions game yesterday?
I did not.
They had like 250 return yards. We had 95. I'm worried about special teams. I feel like the offense has figured it out now, and I'm going to leave them alone. I got my line back. I got my new guy in. He got Jerry Jeudy involved yesterday. He got David Njoku involved. They called him his safety blanket. I call him his whoopee. They hit Cedric Tillman for touchdowns twice. Say it with me. Cedric Tillman. That's my new chant. So I'm not worried about the offense right now. Nick Chubb will get back in the swing of things. Defense looked good yesterday. Myles Garrett looked good. I love the Browns coming out and saying Myles is untouchable. I had to tell some of my friends who are fans of other teams, as the trade deadline approaches, don't look at Myles. Don't look at Myles. He's untouchable. Can't touch this. He's the MC Hammer of the Cleveland Browns. You can't touch this. Come on with me. Y'all are doing it. I know you're doing it. You're doing it in your cars right now. I can tell. Don't drive off the road. Special teams. I love our punter. Bajorquez is the bomb. Love him. Even love our kicker, Dustin Hopkins. Not happy with our return game at all. And I know some of it, a little bit of it is the new rules with where the ball lands and where you get it. And so it makes sense to maybe not return it. If you're going to, if it goes here, there, or otherwhere, you're going to get it to 25. That makes those decisions harder. But they're still returning the ball, and we're not blocking well for the return team. And I think that's something this team has really got to look at in the next couple of weeks, is what they want to do on the returning side of the ball. In general, it was just a very well-balanced game. It was better than it's been before. And maybe most importantly, we'll circle all the way back to your point. Those breaks went in our favor, and they usually don't. You and I are usually here on Monday talking about how if this had been that way or that had been the other way, we would have won the game. And this week, that's what they're doing in Baltimore. And enjoy that, Baltimore, because I've done enough of that for a lifetime. I'm glad the breaks fell our way.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and take a break right quick. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. Make sure you keep it locked here on your regular radio dial, and you can listen at 95.9 FM. You can also download the WOVU app so you can listen on the go. You can listen online at wovu.org. So we appreciate you listening. We appreciate your support as always to be the best radio station here in the land. And Kate, right before we went into break, you were talking about special teams. Our special teams have been terrible for years. And, there's been no change since Bubba Ventrone has taken over. Let me scratch that. Excuse me. Let me stop disrespecting Dustin Hopkins and Corey Bojorquez. So that aspect of special teams has been great.
The feet ain't the problem.
Yeah, they're not the problem. They're
the feet ain't the problem
too. Yeah, they're not the problem, but it's our return yard. So it's the not blocking for them. We have been like one of the worst teams in the league of return yards, and that directly hampers our field position and what we're able to do and how we're able to help our offense out. We're not helping our offense out. We're constantly, having the ball at it's the 30-yard line now instead of the 25. We're not helping our offense out at all with them having bad field position every time.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a long season. You need to get yards wherever you can get yards. Every inch matters in this game, right? So I think they've been so focused on trying to figure out why the defense isn't clicking. They knew what was going on with the offense, and injuries has sort of been the excuse of, well, we're not going to worry about the offense. We're injured. When everyone's healthy, we'll figure it out. Well, everyone's healthy now. At least everyone but Deshaun. I don't know how DTR is doing with the finger, but Jameis is healthy. He can play. I'm set on offense. And I think they've just been so worried about the defense. It just hasn't felt like the shutdown defense we've seen in past years. And I think part of that is because our field position is so bad, because the offense was doing so many 3 and outs. The defense was just getting tired and frustrated and felt like if they didn't score points, nobody was going to score points, right? This week, the defense figured it out. They played well. It's very dependent on the offense. If those two are okay, they have got to figure out what to do with special teams, because I watched an awful lot of games yesterday. I think there were 6 of the 1:00 games that were decided in the last minute. with field
Mm.
goals, with that crazy Hail Mary pass later in the day from the Commanders. Even the Browns game, we got the lead with 59 seconds left. Your special teams are going to get you those field goals, are going to punt the ball away so that your defense can come on and keep the opponent from that game-winning drive. Not if you're letting them return, right? So special teams goes both ways. It's not just when they kick to me, I'm the receiving team and I got to run with it. It's when I kick it off, am I stopping them from getting a big return? We saw that last week against Cincinnati, right? What happened in the very first play of the game? We
What was the
kicked off,
touchdown, right?
and our special teams let a Bengal run it in for a touchdown. We spotted them 7 points. There were 4 seconds taken off the clock. That can't happen. That can't happen. And that needs to be somebody's focus now that, Chris, what was his name? I think he's a head coach now. Dable was our special teams coach for years. I couldn't stand him. Couldn't stand him then. Can't stand him now as a head coach. Don't know what he's doing. Our special teams have been terrible for years, but we took our mind off it with the offense and defense. We can't keep taking our mind off it. It's becoming a bigger part of the game with these new kicking rules. It has more influence over the game. We could have the same conversation, Rachel, about Ohio State. What did Jim Tressel say was the most important play in football?
It was special teams.
Special teams, the kicking game, punting and kicking. Buckeyes ain't got a kicker either. When you're going for it on your own on the opposing 30 because you can't trust your kicker to get a field goal, that's not, you aren't going to win a national championship without a kicker, Buckeyes. We'll get to you. We have a kicker. We have someone who is reliable for the most part. He's reliable enough to kick field goals and extra points. I'll take Dustin Hopkins all day. But Horkins, I wish there were better stats out there available for punters because he's got to be leading the league in leg. It's just insane how far he's able to kick it, how he's able to place it, how he's dropping that ball to where they're not getting to the 30 for free. But if they return it, you have got to stop them from getting that big play and getting that big return. And we're not doing that. They're getting way too many yards. And that's where we need to really start because it makes it harder for the defense. If you're giving the opponent the ball on the 40 instead of the 20, that's 20 more yards the defense has got to protect.
Yeah. Offense, DeJuan Jones. How did you like him at left tackle yesterday?
I was nervous going into the game because I have not been happy with him since he stepped out of scarlet and gray. And I actually thought he played a very good game yesterday.
Yeah, that's pretty much the feedback that he's been getting because they've said before that when they've had him at left tackle, it wasn't working. It didn't look good. It was ugly. But, yesterday, he played a great game, along with the offensive line stepping up, like you said, we had people returning and stuff like that. And the offensive line did, what they needed to. They allowed for over 400 yards to be thrown. They created holes for Nick Chubb and, let this offense kind of turn loose. And, they were able to hold up for Jameis to, be able to throw the ball, things that hadn't taken place, prior. There was a ton of interceptions, not ton of interceptions, excuse me, but a ton of sacks, that they allowed of Deshaun. Do you know how many sacks they had yesterday? It was low, right?
It was low. I can go find it. Just hold on.
Yeah.
It was in 7 games, it was our 7th different starting lineup on offensive line.
Oh God. That's a no bueno situation right there.
8 games. That's no bueno. Our 3rd different starting left tackle. And so I don't know if DeJuan just figured it out or if they got the right combination of guys with him, because I believe that your offensive line is 5 guys. It's not 1 guy. It's 5 guys. Love me some Joe Thomas. He did not survive at left tackle all those years by himself. It's 5 guys. It's center. It's left and right tackle. It's left and right guard. They have to move as a unit. They have to know what they're doing. They have to create a pocket. They go from standing here to curling around their quarterback, and he's got to learn, Jameis got to learn how much time he has. It ain't as much as he thinks. So he's going to have to get back. Wills was still out, but they managed to do a lot better. Wyatt Teller was back. James Hudson was in for a little bit this week. I don't know. It was much better than what we have seen. I'm sorry, I'm digging through the stats and I can't find it.
That's okay. It was less than 5 times, and I think they had
It
been
looks like
averaging.
2. Hold on.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
only seeing 2, but I got to keep going.
I knew it was very low compared to what had been happening with Deshaun.
Yes.
So even though this was a different line combination, this combination was able to be successful for your quarterback, and that's one of the things. I mean, obviously, Jameis got knocked down sometimes and stuff like that, which is going to happen. But to be able to keep your quarterback upright in the pocket, ensures your team more success than him continuing to be running for his life and continuing to be sacked. And Jameis isn't a quarterback that's going to run too much. He does it out of necessity, but, he's a quarterback that's going to throw that ball. So, he's going to stand in the pocket, standing there tall, big guy, and he wants to throw the ball, not run.
Yep.
So I'm just looking at it like, have they found the formula? Some of the players feel like that they found a formula to be successful. They're not giving up, but America, like a lot of, I'm not going to say a lot of people because I only can speak for myself. Do I feel like the Browns can make the playoffs? No, not now. Too many losses.
All right, I'm going to stop before you go crazy. Lamar got sacked 3 times.
Okay.
Jameis got sacked twice.
Okay, good.
And that is the first time all season we got sacked less than our opponent.
Wow. Okay.
Rachel, I saw people doing that whole Super Bowl, Super Browns thing. My own husband, God love him, is like, there have been teams that have started like 2-6 and then won their next. Y'all, stop. Like, I am Patty positive. I am Penelope positive. I am Polly positive. I am not negative Nancy, not negative Natalie, not negative Naomi. I am usually the most positive girl on the street, but don't be setting yourself up for heartbreak. Don't go back to that ex who broke your heart 3 times already. Leave him be.
We're not making
when it gets to be week 17 and we're playing for a spot in the playoffs, then I will believe. But until then, don't set yourself up for failure because this is still the Browns. Those lucky breaks went our way yesterday, but they're not good enough. They're not good enough. I need a few more weeks. I need to see something more. Y'all need to slow your roll with that whole playoffs talk.
Yeah, do it for Jimmy this whole season.
Ooh.
Let's dedicate the season to Jimmy and do it for him.
Well, be careful with stuff like that because if you end up 2-15, is that the season you want to dedicate to Jimmy?
No, and then I'm just like, I don't want us to win too much so we can get a great draft pick because, unfortunately, this isn't going to last with Jameis Winston. I think that, things will come back to earth a little bit and his history of interceptions will catch up to him and, this team,
Listen,
as far as this season goes.
Listen, it's just me and you, right? I loved me some Joe Flacco. Had a great time with Joe Flacco last year. Wish they would have re-signed him so that when there was an injury, he could have come in off the bench. But Joe Flacco was not going to be my quarterback of the future.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way about Jameis Winston. Just keep the crab buffets off to the side. I love Jameis. I love him as a backup. I love what he's going to do for me for the rest of the season. But I need to know if DTR is my quarterback of the future. And if he's not, I need to be 2-15 so that I can get me a quarterback in the draft. If I go 4-13, I might be able to get me some Travis Hunter. I wouldn't object to that. I got my eye on quite a few college players that you can get top 5. And if I don't need a quarterback, I can trade around for that. There's no quarterbacks really lighting it up for me. I mean, Cam Ward out of Miami's all right, but yours out of Texas ain't all that. He has proved that in the last couple of weeks. Thank God for Arch Manning. I don't want to be having quarterback conversations in December. I want to know, in February. I want to know in the next few weeks. And I feel like the Browns are drinking their own Kool-Aid and they think they can get back in this playoff race and they're going to ride or die with Jameis to get us there. But at some point, we need to know what DTR is. And I get it. This week, he had that finger injury against the Bengals. He needed some more time. You definitely want him to be healthy before you decide if he's your QB of the future. And you can still start Jameis Winston, but design some packages for DTR to get a feel for him, to see what he can do, to get him a little more experience. We saw the Jameis quarterback sneak packages when Deshaun was starting. So they can put DTR in. I need to see more DTR so I know if I need to hope for losses at the end of the year because I need a quarterback.
Well, I think you need a quarterback.
I think we probably do, and that's a shame because again, I got nothing but love for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think his scramble ability and some of his other abilities just need time to develop. I just don't know if he has enough time to develop them here. I would not be here's my craziness. Here's my craziness, Rachel. Are you ready? Are you ready? If we end up with a top 3 draft pick, I would not be opposed to packaging that pick up with Carolina and getting Bryce Young. Or if they just let him go, bringing Bryce Young here. Because I think Bryce Young has the same problem that Baker Mayfield had and Sam Darnold had, which is they are on really bad teams and they are not in the right scheme for their talents. And I think Bryce Young would be really good here where he is struggling in Carolina because we got all these things to put around him that they don't have in Carolina. So I would not be opposed on some kind of deal that gets me Bryce Young.
Okay.
I mean, he's no CJ Stroud. You know what I'm saying? He's no CJ Stroud, but I think a lot of his troubles, because who I saw in college is not who I'm seeing in Carolina. And that whole team is a hot mess year 2. They didn't get him no help. I don't know what they did in the offseason. They didn't get him any help. And I think the sooner he gets out of there to a team that can develop him, the better his chances are of being in the NFL 15 years after he's drafted.
Yeah. Because who you going to draft? And that's the thing.
There's nobody I love in the draft. Nobody that I think is NFL ready. This is a weak quarterback class. Austin Ginty, the running back from Boise State, could go top 5. I don't want him here. I learned that lesson. Thank you, Trent Richardson. I got Nick Chubb. I don't need a running back. I'm just saying. I think the top 3 Heisman candidates aren't even going to be quarterbacks. That Travis Hunter is crazy. Have you seen him play? Girl, he plays both sides of the ball. He plays wide receiver and corner. I'll take him.
Remember Chris Campbell?
Yeah, I'll take him. I'll get him to one side when he comes here. I'll use him on both. He can play both of them. I don't care. I've got my eye on him. Love what he's doing down there in Colorado. But I think, like I said, I don't know that this is a good year for quarterbacks, so there's none of this suck for luck, lose games to get a high pick, because even if we need a quarterback, I don't know that there's someone there that I would want to spend that high a pick on. I would then be rooting for the Browns to trade down and get a second-round quarterback. You know what I mean? I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it.
All right, we're going to take a break right quick, Cleveland Kate. So we're going to be right back. Huh?
We're going to talk Cavaliers.
Yeah, we're going to talk some Cavaliers. They taking on, they 3-0, and they taking on tonight the New York Knicks. So a lot of stuff going on in the city of New York, World Series. So we'll be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
And nothing made me happier than that walk-off grand slam home run against that the Dodgers did against the Yankees. I'm like, there you go.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here with Miss Cleveland Kate, and we were talking some Cleveland Browns. But what do you want to talk? Do you want to talk Cavs or do you want to talk Ohio State Buckeyes?
So we can talk Buckeyes for like 2 minutes.
Okay,
The
all right.
Buckeyes beat Nebraska barely. Woohoo!
I know. We in some trouble for Saturday.
I need people to stop talking about this team being a national championship contender.
Oh, God, no.
I understand that anything can happen in the playoffs. At this point right now, we're not even getting into the Big Ten championship game.
Nope.
We got 3 teams that are undefeated in the Big Ten that all got to lose for us to even get a shot at the championship game. I want us to beat Michigan. I would like us to remain in the top 12 so we get to the playoffs. And I'm going to enjoy as much football as I can until the season is over. Geno Smith's little cousin, Jeremiah, is my favorite Buckeye right now. Can't wait till he's old enough to get drafted. He is insane. I love the wide receivers that have come out of this school, from Chris Carter to Chris Olave to Marvin Harrison Jr. Now we got Jeremiah Smith. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Super fun from a receiving standpoint. Still don't have a good feel for the running game, and still don't have a good feel for our quarterback, Will. Will Howard's all right, but he's not lighting it up for me. I don't know why I'm not feeling it, but we either beat Michigan or I'll pack Ryan Day's bags for him.
Yeah, we are used to elite quarterbacks, and we haven't had that the past 2 years, so we kind of don't know what to do with ourselves. Jeremiah has also broken Chris Carter's record that stood for 40 years of 8 touchdowns as a freshman. So that should be shattered as we continue to go on, because we still got about 5 more games left. So, the Ohio State has been known as wide receiver youth for the past few years. So, you want to go to the NFL, go to Ohio State. If you're a wide receiver, you're guaranteed usually to have a good quarterback thrown to you as well. But, I don't know if you saw Kyle McCord, threw 3 pick sixes for Syracuse the other day, which is kind of crazy. Like, how do you throw, I understand 1, but 3 in the same game. So, I'd always kind of felt bad about how that situation had happened with him in Ohio State at the end, but not so much now. And, Will Howard, I'm still, the jury is still out on him, because, the next few games coming up, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him. He's going to have pressure.
Yeah, but I will say I watched film of one of those pick sixes, and that wasn't his fault. His runner went left when he should have gone right. Okay. But 3 is a massive. I mean, there needs to be very big conversations in the wide receiver room about route running, and are you sure you are where you're supposed to be? I'm not sure what's going on with Emeka Ibuka. His numbers have dropped off the last couple weeks, but when you've got Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, and then you've even got Kinshawn Judkins catching touchdowns, like Will got a whole stable of people to throw to. There's none of that. The only thing the Buckeyes still do that make me crazy is they have a guy on offense and a guy on defense, 2 different guys wearing the same number. It drives me nuts. Like, you ain't got enough numbers to give everyone their own number. You got to be number 1 on offense, and then he's number 1 on defense. I'm like, and they're all doing the Zeke Elliott crop tops now. I'm glad y'all been working out. Nice abs, but you're children. Pull your shirt down. Quit behaving like that. You know. I mean, they're a very good, very solid football team, but I have no illusions. What I saw happen in Oregon could have been worse. I've watched enough college football that I'm kind of rooting for some of the new schools. Alabama needs to go. Texas A&M can go. Vandy can go. Some of these teams can go. Clemson, LSU can go. There are some other schools that are looking good, and I'm so excited to see what happens with this 12-game playoff this year.
Um, what's up with Indiana? Like 8-0, Indiana?
Yeah.
Basketball
Like, do y'all know you're a basketball school?
yeah, yeah. One of my best friends went to IU, and she's like, "We 8-0." I'm like, "I know." I'm like, "You guys are having an incredible year this year." So, no Ohio State up on your schedule, but with the way they played on Saturday, who knows? That could have been a close game. And Michael Penix Jr. and Michael Penix Jr. had this squad. Compared to the squad he had, he probably wouldn't have left Indiana. So he might have been able to
Yeah.
do something special with that team. So yeah, I'm proud of them, but this game going into Happy Valley is it's going to be tough. It's always tough to play in Happy Valley, but with the way to me that this team has been playing, like you said, with the running game, Will Howard being a question mark, it's going to be, I don't know. I'm a little nervous, so we'll see.
Well, and the rest of their schedule's all Big Ten games. They got Indiana, then they got Michigan, then they got Ohio State. They got a week off, then they have Ohio State, then they have Purdue. So it's gonna shake itself out. They're either gonna be 12-0 or they're gonna lose a game and come back down to earth. I like that it looks like the powerhouse is now in the Big Ten for at least this year are the two O's, Ohio State and Oregon. And I like that, Penn State, Indiana, Illinois, they all have one of those schools on their schedule. So you'll get to face the best that the Big Ten has to offer and see if they're for real, for real. And I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, Penn State is 7-0. They're, a bye week behind Oregon. I don't like Ohio State being ranked fourth. Miami of Florida, the Hurricanes are 8-0. BYU is 8-0. Indiana's 8-0. Like, I don't like the coaches taking a one-loss team and putting them above these undefeated teams. But at the same time, the only thing that matters in the rankings right now is you just have to make the top 12. The 4 teams that are the highest rankings that win their conference championships will get a bye. So it's looking like Oregon, Penn State right now, but who knows? Like I said, Indiana's got these schools on their schedule coming up. We'll see if they, how they do. So I'm excited for the end of the season to see how this division shakes out. So what I love about like Indiana being 8-0 is for the longest time, people are like, well, the Big Ten, it's just Ohio State and Michigan, and then everybody else. You know what? It's not. It's Ohio State, it's Oregon, it's Penn State, it's now Indiana. There are a number of teams with 0 or 1 loss in the Big Ten that have played some pretty tough opponents, and we need to get credit for that because I'm about sick of people telling me the Big Ten isn't as good as the SEC or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk some Cavs and talk some World Series. So we're going to go ahead and get this break in right quick. You're listening to Her and Huddle on WOVU at 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle, WOVU 95.9 FM. Just played a PSA about voting. So hopefully you exercise your right to vote. I exercised mine yesterday. There were a lot of people who, died for me to have the right to vote. So I consider that, one of the ways that, I have to honor them, of course. So I did vote, and hopefully everybody exercises their right to vote in their civic duty. So, Kate,
Absolutely. I
did you
don't
get a
care who
chance to
you
vote
vote
yet?
for as long as you vote.
Yeah,
Just
did you
go
get a
vote.
chance to vote
I
yet?
will vote. My favorite thing about election day is that the day after I won't get any more of these ridiculous commercials or all of the junk mail in my mailbox. And then I had to have a little conversation with my 11-year-old grandson who said something to me the other day about one of the candidates. And he's like, well, Grandma, he did this, this, and this. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Where did you hear that? He's like, well, I heard it on TV. I'm like, we had to have a conversation about just because you heard it on a political commercial does not mean it was true. And you need to go look that up and find out. He's like, oh, they can't lie. And I'm like, oh, yeah, they can. They
Oh my
can and they
God.
do. They can and they do. He's 11. He's a little young to have to learn that lesson, but I had to talk. Anyway, just go vote.
Yeah.
Whoever you're voting for, I just think it's important that we have voter turnout. I hate it when we elect a president and less than half this country goes out and votes. This is too
Hmm.
important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And
And if
then
you're
I'll
not familiar with the issues, skip them. Skip them. I skip issues on my ballot. If I'm not sure on something, I skip them and go down to the ones I know. I go look for the people that I'm looking for that I want to vote for. I'm going to throw my vote to Kamala, but I'm going to keep my vote to myself. But how about
yeah,
them Cavaliers?
yeah, I'll be happy to stop getting the text too from candidates asking for money. So
Yes. Yeah,
I
you're not getting any
definitely
of my money.
not
Go
do
text rich people for money. You're not getting any of mine. I got to buy
that.
groceries.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Cleveland Cavaliers right now are 3-0 under Kenny Atkinson.
All right,
So,
Rachel.
big ups to them.
Rachel, have you been to their website?
No.
All right, I'm going to tell you and everybody listening, if you want to laugh hysterically, I need you to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers website, and then I need you to click on the roster because they have box pictures of every one of the players. And instead of their jersey number in front of them, it's up on the wall behind him. Max Strus looks like there's a horn sticking out of the top of his head. Donovan Mitchell got antlers with a 4 here and a 5 here. They are hilarious. I don't know when. What's his name? I didn't know Luke Travers had a mullet. Amani Bates got the prettiest hair of anyone on the team. But you know what I'm saying? Look at number 5, Sam Merrill. These are hilarious. Craig Porter Jr.
Okay.
got something growing up out his head. These pictures are hilarious. Go down to Donovan, number 45. He looks like he got antlers.
Players.
And then hit team and hit roster. It's hilarious. I love the Cavaliers right now. They're super fun to watch. Apparently, this early in the season, nobody bothers with defense. So we're putting up 150 million points every week. Get on the train early. Baseball season's over. Ain't no point watching the Yankees and the Dodgers because we don't care about either one of those teams. But you should be watching the Cavaliers. They're super fun right now. It's early, and everybody's just having a good time. So, statistically speaking, because I love me some stats. They are first with 128 points per game in the NBA. They are 5th by allowing 107 points per game, 7th with their average, and then rebounds per game, 41. We need to up our rebound game. We're 26th in rebounds per game. We got to work on our rebounds. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the way this team is shaken out and what they've done so far. So, have you watched some of their games? I mean, there's only been 3, and there's been a lot of stuff going on between baseball and football and stuff, but super fun.
Yeah, and it's going to, the schedule is going to get, considerably tougher as well. say tonight, this game against the New York Knicks, they've struggled against the Knicks, the past few years. So, I believe last season they went 1 for 3 against the Knicks as well. So, Madison Square Garden has been a tough place for them to play historically. So tonight's game could be a good indicator where they were at. The opening night, New York was beat very soundly by the Boston Celtics, but they played in Boston. They were beat very handily. So this is a Knicks team that could be had. The Indiana Pacers down them in a playoff series. So, if the Cavs can get in there and play their game, play some good defense, connect on offense, I think one of the keys of this season is how Darius Garland is going to play. And you need huge play from him in order for this team to be able to get anywhere because Donovan can't do it alone.
True. So they're traveling to New York for the game today. Then they have a day off, and then they come home to host the Lakers and LeBron James. Do you feel any kind of way about LeBron?
No.
Do you think the team does? I don't think they do. He'll probably call down to Swenson's in Akron. Usually when he used to come visit here as an opposing player, he would order the Galley Boy burgers from Swenson's in Akron. They're all right. I don't know that they're all that, but there are people from Akron who are just rabid about their Galley Boys. But I heard he always orders takeout, like a huge catered takeout from there to the visitors' locker room when he's in town. So I'll have to keep an ear out, see if he does that again this week.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm not a Swenson's fan. I don't care for their burgers. I don't care for the Galley Boy.
Yeah, they're all right, but I'm just like, man, they're okay.
Yeah. Giannis said we got the best wings in Cleveland. I think JJ said that too, that we got the best wings in the country. So at Quaker Steak and Lube wings pretty are good. Them garlic parmesan ones.
We used to have one close to me up in Sheffield here on the west side, and it closed, and I don't know why, but they do have some of the best wings. I like their wings better than Buffalo Wild Wings and Whack B-dubs. Their wings are more like little tiny chicken legs instead of them scrawny old lady arms with the flabby skin on them, so you get a whole lot of skin and not a lot of meat. So I do prefer the Quaker Steak and Lube wings.
I remember back in the day when I was in college and BW3 would have chicken legs for 50 cents or whatever, and chicken wings were super cheap. It might have been 25 cents, 35 cents, something like that.
Oh yeah.
We was poor, college students on Ohio State's campus. I'm like, man, this is great. So we would go there on Wednesday night, and then when the week of Michigan, they would have something called Wing No Wolverines, and they would give us free wings and stuff like that. That was just the best week.
I'm way older than you because I can remember 10-cent wing night at B-Dubs.
Okay.
But I will say Evan Mobley has impressed me. I know we're only 3 games in, has really impressed me with his improvement over last year, his offense and his defense. For me, he's the most improved through 3 games. We will have to keep an eye as we go through the season. I mean, Donovan's leading the team in points with 23, but he's averaging 23 points a game. But Evan and Jared Allen are both at 18 right behind him. I think it's going to be, for this team in the long haul, it's going to be important if there are other guys that can share the load with Donovan Mitchell. If he doesn't have to do it all himself, he needs some help.
Yeah, and for Evan to continually, develop that jump shot is going to be important. He doesn't necessarily have to, develop that 3-point shot, but to be able to hit that, 12-footer, is going to be something that is going to add another element to his game and have him continue to be even more dynamic than what he is already. He put on a couple pounds, this off season, so you can't really tell, but he puts on a couple pounds of muscle so he can get in there and bang with other players and stuff like that. And you need to be able to do that.
Yeah, so I forget he's still young. He's so young. Browns are home again this week, 3 weeks in a row. They're hosting the LA Chargers, and then the following week they're on a bye. So probably one of the last games where we're going to have decent weather. If you don't like to go to a football game, all bundled up in a hat and a scarf and mittens and gloves and 12 pairs of socks and warmers and all of that, and you don't have tickets yet, you're going to probably want to go to this week's game. The Chargers are a hot mess right now. Evil Jim Harbaugh's in town. I'm feeling good about the Browns' chances this week. If everything goes well in practice, I think we'll be good. So I'd like to encourage y'all. It's just weird to me that they had 3 home games in a row, and then they had the and we got a lot of road games. They got a couple wicked road runs in the second half of the season.
Degrees on Sunday.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely get out there, definitely get out and support. And it's a different team right now. So I noticed, yesterday there was a lot of empty seats in the stands, but I could see why. And I saw people on Facebook, trying to get rid of their tickets and stuff like that.
I had 2 different people offering me their tickets, and I'm like, I can't. Based on 1-6, I can't put myself through the agony of watching the Ravens beat the crap out of us. And then we won. And then I found out that in our last 6 meetings against the Ravens, we're actually 4-2. I thought it was just the Bengals we beat up on, but apparently we're done beating up on the Bengals. It's their turn to beat up on us. Apparently we don't do too bad against the Ravens. It's just in my head that they beat up on us all the time. So I turned down a bunch of tickets this weekend.
Yeah, and that's it.
But I'm available Sunday. If anyone wants to give me free Chargers tickets, I'll go.
And that's it, you guys. We appreciate you listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We are out of here.